managed to damage his hood on an install that had nothing to do with the hood. This guy. So I've got to fix that. So I actually installed this carbon fiber cooling panel on the car a couple weeks back. But after I installed it the next day, I started noticing there was cracks right here. And I was like, oh God, what's that crack coming from? Noticed it was this. There's a little fiberglass piece that hung down here. So I chopped it off in a rush to go to a car show, thinking I didn't need it, but I needed it because it was actually the safety to not let the hood pop up. So I don't have that anymore. But what I do have is, look at this. Oh my God. Like, I don't know if this is actually going to show how good this artwork is. I've always wanted some artwork on the bottom side of my hood, and I got that now. But what I don't got is anything safety wise to make sure when I pop my hood, it doesn't just come up. So I'll be fixing that today. I'll be installing some AeroCatch hood pins. But the sad thing is this brand new artwork has to get cut in for me to install that. So let's see how this goes today. In an effort not to cut too much into the hood, because in all seriousness, this is where the pin is going to go through. I would have to cut a big hole in this like that, which will damage all this artwork. So what I'm going to try to do is, of course, have the hood pin go through there. So there won't be that section of the art, but it'll just be one hole. And then what I'm going to try to do is chop just a sliver of this out here to put the bottom side of the hood latch there. So to do that, though, I've got to make sure that these screws, I was hopeful that these were like nut certs or something in there, but no, they're just little screws you put in, or little bolts you put in there. So what I did is I actually super glued them in there. So when I put this upside down, they don't pop out. So that way I can slide this in and try to hold it and screw this in slowly. That's my plan. So I don't damage this artwork, because do it again, because I love this artwork that much. Y'all are gonna, you can just skip this part of the video. But gosh damn, this looks good. I wish there wasn't so much glare in the video. But oh, it's so pretty. So I don't want to damage this artwork. I literally just got the car back yesterday, and I don't want to damage all this. So to try not to damage it, let's see if I can cut those little slits and fit the bottom side through there. Okay, let's see if I can do this one-handed, but these nuts just fall out, so I am trying to just put, I'm not going to be able to do this one-handed. This is probably a bad idea. For the YouTube channel, I do things one-handed. I actually have a GoPro. But anyways, I put some super glue on the side, and not too much of it, and now it's leaking all over that paper. And then after that, I just slide this in there. If I can do it one-handed. I don't think I can do this one-handed. Oh God, this is not going to work. Oh, it's all over me. Oh, it's stuck to me. Ah. This was a bad idea to do one-handed. Can I get it in there? Then okay, it's in there. Woo! One-handed, y'all. One-handed for the YouTube video. Stuck that in there, and the super glue should hold that in there, and just let that cure. So I'm gonna let that sit for a while I try to find the proper template, because this is not the right template. I printed this off of AeroCatch, and that is too small. So I need to find the proper template, so I gotta go do that. So I'll let these nuts dry while I find that template. Well, if you remember in the first video, there was a nice carbon fiber cooling panel here, but it's no longer there. And this is what my engine bay looked like before that. So as I said, that kind of set the whole engine bay off and made things look better. But the whole reason I'm doing this video is I need to mark where this hits on the hood, which I'm 90% sure is this little divot here. I'm 90% sure it's that. But I'm going to have to mark where this actually hits just to be 100% sure. So I'm going to use some of this. Some type of oil you have in your garage. I just did the differential fluid on Ventress yesterday. Well, actually over the weekend. So I'm going to use this fluid, put a little bit of that on the top of this, and then that'll mark the top of this. So I can drill the hole for where the pin goes through. But the problem is this pin is way too long. So this is a problem because it's going to hit on the light down there. So this is way too long. So what I'm going to have to do is cut this and retap the screws, which is not an issue. But the thing I need to be careful of is I don't cut too much of it, and then I'll be stuck without being able to put the pin in there. Which isn't that big of a problem. I can buy new pins, but I kind of want to do this once and be done with it. So as you can see, it's nice and shiny now, and there's some fluid there. You can't really see it, that shiny spot. There's a little light gleaming on it every now and then. It's one there, and then there's a bigger one here. So you see all that. So those are the marks that these made. So you could also do this when you're putting the hood in to make sure you get a nice amount of that. So you want to, I try to get this so it's a full circle. So if you look at this one, it's not a full circle. So to make sure that it's at a right level, I keep turning it until I get a full circle. Now that's if it's even. This one's bent because I think this side has actually been bent because when I got my accident. So this is actually not even, so you can't do that. But if it was even, you could turn it until you get a full circle, and then you know that it's at the right level. But I don't have to do any of that right now. I just need to start drilling some holes. So let's get to it. Okay, look how long this is, but that's because if you look down here, the bottom of that is actually almost touching the headlight. So I am gonna have to cut this shorter and then retap the threads, which isn't that much of a problem. So if you look up here, I am going to cut through here, right in that section, just to get this to go through. There are other holes. I use this one for my alarm, for my hood pin. So I could use that hole. That hole is on both sides. I believe it's this hole here on both sides. So I could use that hole. But that one is really close to this one. And this one was the one I actually was almost going with, but it actually goes through this rib right here, which I think is structural. So I don't want to do that. So I was thinking about possibly using that one, but then that one, I don't know where exactly I'd be drilling. I don't know. It just, a couple of things just don't make any sense. So I'm going to stick with that one. But the problem with these is this is actually not even because this is set up to screw something in. So this side is higher than that side. Once I tighten this down, it'll be better and it'll get even. And I'm going to put a bigger washer on this to try to flatten this out a little bit. But overall, that is going to be my position. But if I drill the wrong holes, I'm kind of screwed. And then all this nice artwork I just got is going to be going on the wall because I will have multiple holes in my damn hood. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this once and get it right. So we're sticking with that location. Let's see what happens. Okay, while I'm going to start drilling, I wanted to show people shop vac. So just turn the shop vac on, and wherever I'm going to drill, this is my first little drill point. When I start drilling, I'm going to have the shop vac right next to it to suck up any fiberglass dust that comes into the air. Should move the blackling out because it's going to get dusty and nasty, and I just washed it, but it's supposed to rain, even though it looks nice and pretty out. Atlanta weather changes too fast for me to test that theory, and I don't want to have that outside when I just cleaned it. Dust will come off, water will leave marks everywhere. But anyways, gonna go ahead and drill this with the shop vac next to it to suck up as much dust as possible. Also should probably find a face mask. I have one somewhere around here, so I'm gonna wear that also to try not to get fiberglass particles all in my lungs. It's only a little bit of cutting. I know people probably get a lot more than that, but hey, why not be safe? Well, no going back now. Got a nice hole in my hood. I did have to walk it this way just a little bit, as you can see. It's cutting through two different pieces, but I will have to cut that bolt, as I said, on the bottom. But it doesn't look like it's as much as I thought. I forgot this has to go through the thickness of the hood, but it does look like I'm about to cut an inch or so just to get this right. But there you go. You got the pin through the hood. So now I've got to get this template on here and cut this hood even more. I'll figure out how this goes. Now, I finally figured out why I couldn't get the proper template. This is actually the template off of AeroCatch's website, but they drew it on like schematic, engineering drawings that are like 16 by 13, and I have 11 by 8.5, regular paper. So when you actually draw it to scale, this is what happens, and I need to cut that piece out. But the good thing is there's enough of it on here for me to cut it out, get the main template, and then just use the actual bottom piece as the final template. But I need this to make sure I get that pinhole at the right spot and get the rest of the template so that pinhole, that center piece where that 15 is lined up with where that hole in the hood is now before I start cutting the hood. Let me try to explain what I did here. So I have as you can see, I want that angle. I'm trying to go with this angle here, that body line straight from the front bumper all the way across, because I like that body line. I have actually seen people with it this way, which makes no sense to me. I don't know why you want it that way. I like this way. I thought about doing it this way with that body line, but I didn't like how it clashed with this, with it being so close to this line in the hood. And also, if I had it painted, that body line would not be as noticeable as that body line. So I'm going with that body line. Right now, it's about 3 3/8 inch away from that line in the center line of the latch. So that's what I'm going with. So please, for the love of God, I hope I like this later. But let me take a video of it now, because that's what it's going to look like. And I hope I love it. The good thing is it's black and it kind of blends in, so it won't be that noticeable. What I did to do this, so I did find, as I said earlier, this is the template from off of AeroCatch's page. You just have to make sure you print it at actual size. Don't let your printer make it fit. So I got this on there, and then I cut this out for the exact length of 3.58 inch, and I made a line as best as I could on this. So I put a ruler on this until it stopped and made a straight line all the way across this. You can't really see it because it's in pencil, and there it is right there. So I made it a straight line as much as I could on this. And then with that, so this is exactly 3/5/8 inch. My engineering brain did this. So get that lined up with that. And then there's some center lines on this. So it's really hard to do one-handed, but you see the center lines on that. So once I got that lined up, that lets me know that this is exactly 3 5/8 inch away from there. So right now it's not because it's off, but you get my point. So those two templates help me make sure I have that alignment right, and that's what I'm going with. So I'm about to start cutting. Kind of scared, but we're gonna see what happens as I cut this out, and hopefully I don't destroy this. Well, got my first piece cut out, and interesting to see, this actually looks like it. Let me get some light in there. It looks like, no, that's just fiberglass weave. I thought that was actually carbon fiber in there. I was like, holy shit, but I knew this is fiberglass. But anyways, the fiberglass weave, but as you can see, I'll take the light away because I haven't got enough room. I'm gonna try to cut this section out to not have to cut that section. I feel like this is gonna be a lot of strength, so I'm gonna try to cut a big hole this way to slide it in and not cut down there. But right now I'm just gonna cut some straight lines all the way across to these circular things to not try to walk a Dremel around, which I think walking a Dremel around this will be kind of hard, and I don't want the Dremel to just and then take something out this way. So I feel like if I take some straight lines, this will be a little bit easier to control. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Take some straight lines to all those and connect the dots and cut all this circle out and see if it actually fits. Okay, a little success. This nicely fits in there. I've just gotta cut this piece out so it sits all the way in, and then I can slide that piece in the back. Still gotta drill out holes, but that's gonna be after I get this to sit flush, then I can drill out those holes. But I think we got success. I just gotta get this a lot bigger, which is not gonna be fun, because if you look on the back side, what I'm about to cut up is really close to Godzuki's face. It's above Godzuki's face. I mean, that'll all be blacked out once I cut it, but don't want to fuck that up. I mean, this is the whole point of the hood was Godzuki, and I've got to do some cutting over there. So let's get it done. Okay, we've got some success. So I cut that hole out, try to get it in the video, and then I can shove this now in that hole. So that fits in there, and then if I come up here, one-handed filming kind of sucks. But if I come up here, I'll be able to blindly hold this in there from the bottom and line it up. And the great thing is it doesn't really affect the artwork that much. So this will be up a little bit further. So it's not really gonna affect the artwork, and all of that will be blacked out, so there won't be any light coming through. So nobody's really gonna notice that, and the art is still there. So I guess it's kind of good I did this after the artwork, because it made me think of a way to try to get this without cutting all of this out and kind of try to hide that. So I think this is a success. I'm happy with this so far. Got some more cutting to do, but overall, so far, so good. Okay, it's in there nice and flush. It's in there really good, actually. I'm happy where it sits. I almost started cutting some more in the wrong area because it was sitting up like this. And I couldn't figure out why. For the longest, I thought it was actually hitting on this section over here. I thought I had to cut another hole here. But I brought out my nice little camera and shoved this in there, and actually saw all it was sitting on was this little edge right here was a little bit too much, and it was catching this. So glad I brought the camera out, because I was about to cut in the wrong areas, and the final product will look like that. So maybe I'll take this back to Totem and have him spray that in just to make it blend in. I'll see what he wants to do with that, but it's not bad. Like, nobody's really gonna notice that. And it's better than me cutting out this whole section here. So I'm glad that is. And this is also probably for some structure stuff. So now it still has some of the bends and stuff for the structure. So I'm happy the way this turned out. So now I've got to just mark my holes, drill them out, and then try to get the back piece in there and lock this down. But this side's almost done. Well, after about 3 hours, yes, 3 hours to do one, but it'll be faster on the next one. Success. It is in there. It is flush. And from underside, that is all you see is that little itty bitty piece. And the hole, like the light doesn't come through the hole anymore, so it's not as obvious. So I am actually really happy with this. If you look at it, it is there, but I mean, that's actually really good. So still got to do that. I've got to line that up, but that shouldn't take too long. But we've got, a hood pin. Yay, look at that, success. 1 hour in and we're already here. Got this all nicely flushed up. There's a little bit of a gap in there, but it's not too bad. But that's in there, and I wanted to show y'all this. The mount that it goes into Godzilla. It does kind of suck because it does kind of go through his fins a little bit, but it's not as bad as it would have been, because I would have had to do all of this. It went through the fins and the tail. So I'm glad about the technique I chose to do this. I do have to drill this hole out some. If you see over here, I had to drill the hole out because the the rubber bushing that goes in the pin, which actually isn't in here right now, but there's a rubber bushing that goes in the pin and it'll go on the bottom to touch that. So I've got to get this hole bigger to get that rubber bushing in there. But overall, it's really good. Still got to do the, actual wall of this out to get the bottom plate in there. But that won't take too long. So we're coming along. Almost done. Yay. Well, wanted to show two things with this video. One, you've got to shave this section down. But to do that, on the other side, I didn't have to do this, but I had to put a screwdriver in here to separate the two so I could shave this section down. I'll show why in the next scene, but the bottom plate has to go through there. And what sucks about that is that does shave pretty far into Godzilla's back. We'll see how it looks when I get everything on there, but actually I could probably show it on this side why you have to do that. You have to do that because this needs to fit in there. So these nuts have to fit somewhere. So I got lucky with this one where that nut was the only one I had to worry about. And I guess I didn't have to do that separation thing, but this one had a nut over here and one over here that I had to drill this down or sand this down for. So we'll see what it looks like when I get it all together, but just wanted to show y'all that. Well, kind of screwed this up. If you look at this, this is not a hole, that's a notch. And this is the same thing. So I kind of wallowed this side out too much. So that pushed it that way. But the good thing is the plate goes behind these holes. So the plate will still hold it in and this won't be seen, but kind of sucks because these two kind of will be pressed in, not as the way they're supposed to be, but with the other four holes, it'll be held in. So I'm not worried about it, but yeah, I kind of screwed that up, but we're almost done. Kind of, sort of. So yeah, this is me explaining my error. So as you can see, this side kind of fits, but this side, I pushed it out too far when I was getting this. So as I was fitting this in, I couldn't figure out if it was width or length that was keeping it from going down. I believe it was length the whole time, but I kept pushing this side when I shouldn't have did that. But you can see the plate is gonna hold this in. So this is lined up, the plate's behind it right now. So the plate's still gonna sandwich this, so it'll be fine. But yeah, kind of boogered that up a little bit, but it'll be all right. Well, mission complete. They're in there. I still gotta put the pins in, but they're in there. I like the angle. It follows that body line on the left there. And this one follows that body line on its right. So I like that. It actually gives it a nice little angle. I don't know why people were doing it this way. It made no sense. I really did think about just doing it straight, but I really like that angle. So I'm glad I picked that. I was freaking out for a second, called a couple people. Nobody answered the phone, but figured it out on my own, and I like the way it looks. So looks pretty even to me. Hopefully it is even. We'll see if one day I notice that it's not totally even, but it looks really good from this angle. So I'm happy. Get these pins in here and be done with this. Yay. Okay, quick video to show how much of this stud, lug, whatever pin, I don't know what this part's called, but how much of this I had to cut off. So this right here is actually perfect on both sides. So it actually almost bottoms out like a millimeter from the top of the headlight. So that gives me as much play up as I can go, and it actually goes down pretty far. So that's about perfect, and it's perfect on both sides. And to show how much it had to be cut off, I did the measurement already. It's about 2 inches, a little bit more than 2 inches that needs to be cut off. So if you're doing the same location I am on an R34, about 2 inches of this has to be cut off. But of course, try yours first, because I have been in the front end little itty bitty fender bender, so it might be a little bit different than yours. With some quick work from the Sawzall, got it all cut off. So this is all I cut off of the second one. The first one you can see I did in 3 pieces. I can't find the first piece, but I cut a big chunk of the first one off and then moved it down and then cut off 2 more chunks until I got it just right. Got lucky on that actually. But yeah, and the other thing I want to show y'all, after you cut, if you leave a screw on there, because when you cut, you're going to mess your threads up. You leave a screw on there, it gets tight at the last little bit, but it'll eat through the threads and retap your own, retap it itself if you don't have a tap and die kit. But just a little trick I learned back when I was in the military. So always leave a nut on the screw and you can retap your threads just with using the nut and getting it back off.